Good afternoon. Today we have a special guest, Coach Kimberley Wallis, who specialises in a number of different modalities and backs everything up with a scientific approach as well. So we're very pleased to have you on the show. Kimberley, we're going to talk about, say, relationship anxiety.
Yeah.
And with Valentine's Day around the corner, a lot of people are stressed out and so with Valentine's Day around the corner and people are anxious about not being in a relationship, or maybe they might be anxious being in a relationship. What are some things that people can do in terms of, say, perhaps maybe rushing into a relationship for the sake of being in one because they're too afraid to be alone, possibly?
I think the best part is like to get comfortable being alone, but then because that gives you the aspect of knowing what you're comfortable with and what's your wants and needs, and then you would be able to detect that when you meet your spouse, well, supposedly to be spouse kind of thing, rather than rushing. Because when you rush, you're not thinking clearly. You will just take whatever's on the table, and you kind of settle for something that's not a match to you.
And do you think at this time of year, sort of with Valentine's around the corner, people tend to get more anxious if they are on their own because they see the media and the hype about being with somebody else? Is just generally speaking, do you think people just generally have anxiety around being on their own? Or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Valentine does play a part because it puts people under pressure.
Yeah.
Because obviously on a special day where everyone's loved up, no one wants to be alone kind of thing. So yes, I think they do rush into being with anybody, and some people as well would start putting pressure on themselves and other people to date them and stuff, even though if both parties are not really interested, but because they don't want to be alone, they will still go ahead with that, even though it's a bad idea. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I have a theory that there are people in relationships that are lonelier than people on their own, in the sense that it's about self-discovery. One of my theories is about finding yourself before you look for somebody else to find you, type thing. And do you think it's the case for people sort of developing themselves when they're on their own to be the best they can be? Because do you not find some people, they take whatever problems they've got in one relationship to the next relationship? Or
I think it's essential to obviously have some time alone, because it gives you the time to discover who you are, what you want, what you need. What is it, like what you want and what you need is also a different thing as well. Sometimes you would want something, but that's not necessarily what you need. Meaning sometimes you would want a person to be this way, but what you need is a person to be the other way to help you evolve and change and to master yourself. So yeah,
and what do you think of people, say, we've sort of focused on Valentine's because it's around the corner, what can people generally do where if they get overwhelmed, and, I mean, any sort of, I know it's hard to give people advice, everyone's different, I'm not suggesting to give advice, but if people feel a bit overwhelmed about it all and think, you know what sort of some things they can do to sort of not feel as pressured and overwhelmed by all the media, all the hype, all the films, all the stuff that sort of surrounds.
What they can do is basically, I mean, Valentine is about loved ones, and that's not necessarily is about a partner or a spouse and relationship. You can spend it obviously with your friends, you can spend it with your parents, I mean, whoever's in your life that you're in love with, and you can spend it with them and just enjoy it. Yeah,
that's a great point, because there's a commercial aspect of it too as well, where people, you know, I think sometimes get caught up in the commercial aspect of it, where it's on the media, on TV, and it's pressure to buy. And even people in relationships, I mean, do you think there's a lot of pressure on them to conform to a certain norm? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of people, like Christmas, for example, where it's a lot of pressure, you have to buy all these presents, etc. Some people can't afford buying all these presents, so they go and work extra hours, etc. And they obviously are able to buy the presents afterwards, but then, you know, the other person would have the present for like a day and then it's forgotten about, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting stuff.
So it's all about experiences, but then again, everyone look at things differently. Some people do like material things and that makes them happy, and some people want affection. So it differs, I would say, but it does put them under pressure. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and that could be the breaking point of any relationship, in the sense that, you know, the extra sort of
expectations come as well in the way, where the other spouse will expect a lot more.
Absolutely.
And the other person maybe is not romantic or passionate than the other individual is. Yeah. And because the other person didn't put like the effort and the expectations, they can get into arguments. Because comparison as well come into hands.
Of course, with social media, people look and see what other people have bought or gone on holiday. oh, he's done this and she's done
like
that.
they got me a hotel or a spa,
Yeah,
etc.
exactly. Rather than enjoy every day as it comes along, that's a good starting point for sure. And I think the interesting thing, some of the takeaways I think from our conversation as well, I think that certainly people about working on themselves rather than trying to find someone to be
complete them.
Precisely, complete yourself, I think is a big takeaway. And also from the anxiety point of view, I think that you've made a really good point there where it's not just about the partner in the sense that relationship partner, it could be friendships, it could be... and sometimes, I think anyone in my experience has got that relationship anxiety, it could be an underlying issue they have around people outside because they're seeing this sort of world in the media, this unobtainable world where people always seem to be happy in Hollywood films and people always seem to be perfect and so on and so forth. And I think that, embracing that perfectly imperfect situation.
But people don't realise that, well, some people, I want to say all, but some people don't realise that it's only 20% of that person's life that you're seeing. You're not seeing the 80%.
Exactly, the underlying stuff that goes
people only show you what they want to show you. So
precisely. I think that's a really important point to make too, because you've got the show reel as well, and the social media show reel, that all things are perfect in social media. And I think if you compare your own life to someone else's show reel, there's always going to be shortcoming. But that's been really interesting points you've made there. So it's been great to have you on the show. Some really interesting stuff. And is anyone sort of interested in maybe getting in touch with you? Do you have any sort of details that they can do? Or?
Yeah, I mean, if you Google me, which is Kimberley Wallis, you'll find me in LinkedIn, or you would find me obviously in social media. I'm in the process of getting my own website, which is going to be hopefully up and running within 2 weeks from now, and it's going to be The Life of Kay. But again, if you Google Kimberley Wallis, you'll
absolutely. No, I think that your work is certainly very pragmatic, and you combine a number of things, and you've got that backing of, you have the scientific way as well too, which is quite interesting stuff, and it's about being pragmatic. So thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.